Right. And we're live. We're streaming. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Tokyo Tonight, where I can see that I actually have sound this week. I'm on medium gain, so you can probably hear a little bit of my fan, but yeah, it's better than nothing. The camera is working, the lights are working. It's awesome. And here goes the leg. There goes the leg right there. So that is about the usual 40 seconds. But that is all good. I want to start tonight actually giving a bit of a shout out to Charlie Brown AU, who was there in the comments, who actually gave me a kind of a lot of help. I'm basically, I'm going to buy, I've got an XP computer that I got built to order years and years ago, and it's kind of crap now. And I figure that I will, ahead of the sales tax increase and with Windows XP going out of support from Microsoft, yeah, I might as well go and get a, let's get the right height on this fella. I might as well go and get a new rig, and I figure I'm going to spend a lot of money to it, a lot of money on it. I'm going to go and get basically the best thing I can get for editing video for the next couple of years. And there's a great Facebook thread on this with a lot of competitors, commenters. And Charlie gave me a lot of help actually with some ideas for how to do it, what kind of spec and what kind of things to look out for. Doing a BTO for like basically a badass MF video editing computer. And the update for Charlie right now is that there are kind of three options I'm looking at. One, likely, two, lazy, and three, guilty and evil. The first one and the most likely one still is that I will go to probably Dos Para or one of the computer makers or computer parts shops that build to order computers in Akihabara, and just get kind of a dream for a PC, for a Windows-based PC, a dream computer put together. And yeah, I was looking at those options last week, and I think I have a good idea of what I'd like. But it's very interesting. I was actually at Big Camera today, and they actually had, I was talking with the staff there, and they showed me what the HP people have offered. And in terms of everything, all the way from, from consumer to actual, they also offer commercial type, server type, budgets going up to $20,000, and you can customize anything in between, anything up to that for what you want. And that comes with pretty good service and coverage and so on, warranty service and all that other sort of stuff. So, yeah, it was kind of, I had a good look at that today, and that would be a slightly lazy option for it, but it would be easy and I'd get it delivered, and it would have a lot of, it would allow me to be, to be lazy. And the evil option is getting a Mac, which some people have said, and you know what, I don't think it's going to happen because I've got too much software and too many processes, too much data, too much software I like that just wouldn't work on a Mac, and Mac misses a lot of stuff. I'm always telling people are always asking me about where to get, Liverpool just scored, I can hear that. Oh, and maybe it was turned down. I'm not sure if it's safe to come out or not. Oh, so Charlie Brown's telling me, no, I know I'm not looking at Alienware and I'm not looking at Dell, but I am considering HP. But okay, maybe not. I don't know. I can't tell what their parts are, and maybe they're garbage. Well, you'll like this one even less. The thing is, there's a lot of reasons I would never consider getting a Mac, frankly. But at the same time, one, I'm getting old and middle-aged, and the other thing is that, they have a Xeon 5. It's a pretty impressive machine, the new Mac Pro. The spec on it's pretty awesome if it weren't for the fact it's just a Mac, And yeah, I knew that would be provocative, but I threw it out there. I'm looking at it. You got to admit, on paper, if that thing was just running Windows, I probably wouldn't hesitate. Liverpool penalty. Thanks for the update, Narcissus. Oh, and they hit it. And they scored. There we go. This is 40-second delayed, of course. Thanks for the update. So anyway, I'm going to get back into the comments, but let's kick it off. But I basically, probably in the next week, you know what? I went into the shop today and I said, I'm going to spend up to $5,000. I'm going to take it serious. And you know what I really want to do, and what the real payoff for all of this is going to be that these broadcasts, even on the Hangouts, will always appear in HD because there's a CPU limitation. This is a Sony Vaio Z from a few years ago, and this is a Core i7, but I don't have the CPU power to show HD Hangouts or Indeed with these live shows. It'll improve that. Plus, if I'm going to deck it out and I'm going to really get it built to order, I want to be able to hook up like my mirrorless camera and actually be able to shoot from like a commercial type camera and just make all of this look more awesome and edit more easily. So I think the payoff is going to be, I'm going to get this probably in the next few weeks, and when it happens, the quality of these broadcasts, at least the broadcast quality, if not the content, will improve substantially, and hopefully all of these problems with my USB camera dying and my mic going all strange, I'm going to get two or three times more than what I need for everything, frankly. Yeah, and that's right, for $5,000, I'm honestly, and I know I can get a really nice machine for half the price, but I want to get something which I can forget about for the next 5 or 6 years and expect to be able to edit all types of HD video on. So that is my target with that, and that is what I'm talking about. So anyway, let's kick it. I'm going to start going to your comments and to your topics as I always do. And what? I should put this mic in front of me so that I'm checking my own monitor at the moment just to make sure that you can hear me well. But anyway, let's kick it off. I'm going to start with the comments. Bada boom. And I'm back. And you know what? I'm going to just do one very quick thing, which is this one. Edit. Just so I can change the titles below the screen. It's always nice to do. Text editor. Bada boom, bada boom. Okay. So we are now kicking it live, and I'm going to go straight to your comments. So thanks for everyone for coming in so early. I don't know if any of you caught the drama video last night. A little bit of the background on that. So I actually had a chance to talk with Rachel and June, who Victor's been raving about for a long time, and I know that they're awesome, and I know that their channel has gone ahead. Crazy, like what they've got like 100,000 subs in like less than a year or something. I mean, they've really been very, very successful, and I've always wanted to meet and talk to them, and they were awesome. Rachel was really, really impressive, and we had a great conversation. And actually, and I guess this is the other thing I should be pointing out at the start of the video again before I get into the comments. Check out the information below the video, and you can see the link for the Facebook page. With all the Hanami information and the Hanami RSVP, please sign it up, because that helps us as organizers know how much swag, how many prizes, how many beers, and all the good stuff to bring and organize, how big a space to organize. It's really good to get an idea of who's coming. The Hanami is now, and looking at the weather news and the Hanami weather news, it looks like it's pretty accurately set now for April 5th. Hanami officially starts on the 29th of March in Tokyo, so basically a week after that, or 6 or 7 days, should be perfect. It should be full bloom by then. So it'll be awesome, provided of course the weather is good for it. That is the risk when you take booking these things a bit early, but it's a good crowd this year that is organizing it, and it's already getting massive response on Facebook. So check out the information below. And seriously, if there's really only one gathering that you come to, this is like the biggest YouTube gathering in Japan. And it's always around this kind of random, hard to predict act of nature type event, which makes it hard. But it is the best event, I think, for any YouTube event related to Japan. And frankly, if you're looking to, especially to start out a channel or to meet other YouTubers or to meet me and hang out and have a beer, and this is the best way. And this is how so many channels I know got started, from attending the YouTube Hanami. And so many people go to the YouTube Hanami with like 5 subscribers, and they just get in everybody else's videos about the Hanami, and 3 weeks later they have like 200 subscribers. We were talking about this last night, and what was kind of awesome about last night, well, for me, it was a real vlogger and specifically J-vlogger conversation. It's a kind of conversation I can't really have with anyone other than someone else who makes videos in Japan. And it was the same kind of sharing information and sharing thoughts, and kind of what you can't really do with your spouses or your friends or your non-YouTube people. So it's a really it's a real kind of it's a rare opportunity to connect with like-minded people. People fly from all over the world from it. They have every year. It's been a bit quiet the last couple of years, but I can already tell this year's going to be special. I think it's going to be big. And let me tell you, if you are in Japan, if you only come to Tokyo once this year, it's worth traveling to Tokyo for this. It really is. And some people, I mean, it's awesome to come to Japan just for the Hanami time of year anyway. It's one of the 2 maybe best times of year. So if you're coming to Japan, you might as well come to Japan anyway. And if you're coming to Japan, you might as well come to Tokyo. And if you go to Tokyo, you might as well come to the Hanami. So come. All the information is below. Check it on Facebook, all that good stuff. And this comes back to the drama video from last night. I got a call from Victor 5 minutes before the whole thing started, and he kind of gave me a quick heads up on what it was about. And it's kind of, and it was just pretty much, it turned into a great conversation about really asking ourselves what is vlogging about for us? What does it mean to me? What does it mean to Victor? What does it mean to Rachel? What is the difference? Is there a difference between a starting out vlogger and a big vlogger? Is there elitism? Should there be elitism? I mean, is it okay? And we had a really, really great conversation. The video is still up there on Victor's channel. And you know what? In 1 hour and 20 minutes, we had, 1,300 comments, 1,300 comments. And although we weren't as interactive, and it's very hard to be interactive, and there were some comments about this after the video, some people were disappointed it wasn't that interactive. That's what I come to this for, although I'm not being interactive at the moment. We were having a really, really good discussion involving 4 people. and it tends to be that when there are more people, it's really hard for people to track and involve the comments. I was doing my best, but I could only really, when there were 1,300 comments, you can only be so interactive. And that's exactly why I love this show, because this show is all about just interacting with you guys. I guess the other lead-in is that I went to Korea this week, since Wednesday for work. The last time I went to Korea for work, I hooked up with Chi Ranger. And we had a great time hanging out, and we made a video. This time was very, very intense work-wise. I was going out every night with work people. And it was a really worthwhile trip for that purpose. I came back completely exhausted, and I've barely followed the news this week. I'm really behind on my Flipboard, and I haven't been tweeting that much. And, it's been a great weekend with my son, but I'm tired. So, like I say, because of that, I'm not prepared. But that's awesome, because that just means I'm going to talk with you guys, which always seems to work out pretty well anyway. So I'm going to go straight through from the beginning now. So I am now a wee ways behind, but once again, really, really awesome that so many of you come and join for the countdown. I love that. And I love being able to join in the comments before that. So Emily Louise Maitland, great as always to have you along. You too, Sean Goss and Robert 1967 Canada. And congrats again on the recent first anniversary of the 3 Old Dudes, which is a Saturday night version of this show. Kind of another 2.5 Oyajis of sorts on Saturday nights. You should definitely go and check that out. You know what? I don't need the monitor. The monitor is awesome, and that kind of hurts my ear. These are jogging mics, so hopefully I'm just checking my levels. Yes, the mic is still working. I don't know. Lately, I just kind of sneeze and something goes wrong technically. It's kind of a nervous moment. Nobiri Hito, good to see you, man. And Raza Al Ghul, it's your birthday, but you made it to the show anyway, even though it's your birthday. Well, go have your birthday. You're watching the internet on your birthday. I appreciate it. Well, I mean, if you're having your birthday and you still want to be watching this, well, I think that does deserve a celebratory birthday dance. And damn you, Sean Goss, for even suggesting that. I only do one dance on the internet, and it's like this. So this is the happy birthday Raz Al Ghul dance. And that's all you're getting. I might do some. Actually, I do like to do the Batman dance, and I have some other moves. I'll try not to release them all at once, because it might be too much. A little bit of awesome at a time. But happy birthday, mate. Good on you. And let the games begin. I don't know if that's the right voice or not, but who cares? Anyway, good to have you along. Happy birthday, mate. Happy birthday, Raz Al Ghul. Rasang, good to see you. And indeed, happy birthday to Raz Al Ghul. Lots of happy birthdays there, including more happy dance taunting, and that's all right. Cringe Bully, good to see you. Cringe Bully, I don't know. Charlie Brownell has a question. Good to Charlie. Sorry, I keep calling Charlie Brownell, but it's Charlie Brown AU, and I should understand that. Have I ever heard of Playism? Apparently, it sells indie PCs via game digital stores to Steam, but has its own storefront system. No, I'll look it up. Maybe they've got some drama happening in the soccer game, but I'm gonna remain focused. So no, I'll keep checking out the PC options, but I'm gonna make a decision on this pretty soon. Emily Louise Layton, I hope you're satisfied. I'm actually I'm not much of a dancer. You may or may not be up to. I can do a pretty mean robot, but that's really about it. But I hope that satisfied everybody with my my little thing. Ahmed, my man in Algeria. Good to see you, man. Stubuya. So your question was on Facebook. So I'm going to Facebook. And by the way, one thing about Facebook. Everyone, I mean, I've got my link for Facebook down below in the video information and on my channel page. And my Facebook is for everybody to interact with me and to have those big long comments that you can't do on here. And everyone is welcome, honestly, to follow me on Facebook. It's cool. And I've got a great Facebook crowd as well. And I do enjoy interacting with people on that during the week. So on Facebook, there are two comments, actually. One from Michael Pickett, who's asking what it's like to live in a country now that has bigger football hooliganism problem than Britain. You know, there was that one stupid banner, the Japanese-only banner, which I talked about last week, and the fallout from that is that, well, you know, and that banner which was taken down unilaterally, and, you know, it's the club's policy to try to find the owner and ask them to take it down, but they made an executive call to their credit of taking it down, and it was down within 18 minutes. You know, it's pretty embarrassing that it went up, and now the Urawa Reds have instituted a ban on people hosting banners, and it's true, it wasn't just the Japan-only banner which was getting attention, but there was some strange... you know, kind of, well, the Asahi flag itself I don't think is a problem, but there were some people, well, you know, it's kind of interesting. If you look at the Japanese internet, they were suggesting perhaps it's kind of weird. There was something like Nihonjin written in Japanese characters over the Hinomaru. And a lot of right-wingers are saying, that's a really, really strange thing to do. Like, that's not the act of a Japanese nationalist. No one would ever write over the top of the Hinomaru, which, you know, to a real, if you're a real right-wing fanatic in Japan, the sun represents the emperor, so you wouldn't write the middle character of Nihonjin over the top of a symbol of the emperor. That someone did, and so again, the right-wing conspiracy, and this is what happens whenever there's a racist thing, like whenever there's the Anne Frank books, and this is what a lot of right-wingers were saying on Nichan, and same with this stadium thing. They're saying it's North Korean spies trying to make us look bad. Who knows what it is, but whatever it was, it's not allowed anymore because they're not allowed to post those kind of banners anymore at Reds games, which is kind of a shame. By the way, and some other very good news, of course, that, well, I don't know, I always take these things with a grain of salt, but they caught a guy who they've charged for ripping some of the Anne Frank books. They didn't actually catch him in the act of ripping the books, but they did catch him trying to post posters or flyers in some of the affected libraries where books were also vandalized. And the person was mentally ill. There is there is a habit that whenever there is a crime, there's a case like this in Chiba a few months ago where a girl was attacked or disappeared or something, and they immediately arrested the nearest mentally disabled person. And again, they caught a crazy guy in a library, and they immediately have pinned the Anne Frank thing on him. In a way, I hope it was him, and I kind of hope he was crazy and that it was this guy. But at the same time, I'm a little bit afraid that the cops have just taken the path of least resistance and pinned it on someone who they could, who basically is not competent to speak for himself, and pin the whole thing on him. I guess we'll find out about this, but I don't know. I hope it's the guy, and it's a shame that it all happened. I hope it's over, but you never know. Yeah, in terms of the football hooliganism thing, I think it was very embarrassing. And you know what? I was actually really interested in how the Japanese web was reacting to this, and I searched through Twitter in Japanese and on Nicheng, basically looking to see if there was a debate. I was expecting to see a debate. Some people standing up saying, it just says Japanese only, you're allowed to say that. Nobody, I tell you, everyone, Reds fans, and all in Japanese. No one paid any care or attention to foreigners. The universal right-wingers were completely disowning it. Regular fans were dismayed, and and the club reacted very strongly to it. And in a way, it's kind of nice that there was. I couldn't find anyone backing it up. In terms of trying to support the Japanese-only banner, which I guess shows that, in spite of the terrible press attention which this draws to Japan, which a lot of people were kind of, were being very aware of, it shows that this kind of thing is just not, this isn't something, Japan isn't swinging to the right, people are still good people, and this sort of stuff isn't tolerated, and it hasn't been tolerated, and it's been a good ending. But damn, just, who knows? So, question from Stuart Gray, which I'm going to take now, which is, Sorry, I won't now say who the commenter's name is. I just read it off the Facebook thing. Of course, it was the I won't say the YouTube handle, but the comment that I got is this person was previously working as a wedding celebrant, i.e. fake priest, in Japan, and have a question: are wedding celebrants for Western style weddings in Japan seen as wholly official, or just actors playing a part? Such person has been told that traditional Japanese weddings have a real Shinto priest, and that the Japanese people are well aware that the Western style weddings are fake. Yes, I mean, well, so I'll put it this way. Most Japanese are really not practicing religious anything. Those that are, the vast majority that are nominally Buddhist, and generally Buddhist wedding ceremonies are very, very rare. Shinto wedding ceremonies are done as a matter of tradition. And yeah, they don't fake the Shinto priest, but there is a small, but still visible minority of Christians. Maybe the most prominent Christian in Japan is Taro Aso, who's the former prime minister and current deputy prime minister and minister of finance in Japan. There are pretty. You find Christians everywhere in Japanese society. You would expect if a Christian were to get married, they would probably use a real church and a real priest. But for the 99% of people in Japan that aren't Christian, but like the idea of the white wedding, like they like the image of that. That's kind of, and looking upon it as a ceremony, which just in the same way as Shinto, frankly, it's not really practiced or adhered to, but it still is seen as the done custom for when you're having a wedding. Yeah, they care more about form than substance, and so I absolutely I would be shocked if people believe that they were getting a real priest. I can imagine maybe 20, 30 years ago when it was becoming popular and they thought they were getting real priests. And I guess even where everyone knows that they are fake priests, I suppose there's still an ethical dilemma around that, maybe more for the people doing it. But from what I understand, it's good fun, it is good money, and I don't think there's any harm done because it's, except maybe to people who actually think it's blasphemous or sacrilegious. So long as you're clear on those grounds, I think it's fine. I think it's great. At the end of the day, they're not marrying to convert to Christianity, so they don't need to have a real priest. And if you're helping fulfill the image of the wedding that they want, then then everyone's good. Everyone goes home happy. That's how I see it. So thank you for that. And sorry if I gave away your identity in the process of that. So let's go down the comments. So we have Ahmed and Raz are saying hello. Has Victor sorted out his little falling out yet? Victor's never going to sort out his fallings out. Although that was a really actually fun, and I thought it was a great deep conversation where I got to have awesome fun making fun of Victor and putting him down. But no, the thing about Victor is that he's a principled guy. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and and honestly, this whole for people starting a YouTube channel and getting hyper excited and going around and asking, can you promote me, like without any other kind of interaction before that? I mean, that's kind of weird. That's like a guy coming up and knocking on the door of your house and saying, well, it's a little bit, Jehovah's Witnessy, or it's a little bit, will you sponsor me? I mean, again, you can put forward a good case, but hey, can I stay at your house? It's like coming up to a stranger. Who the hell are you? It's nice to support people, but you got to show people a bit of respect. You got to think about it. A lot of young people who are a bit new in the world, maybe they expect a little bit too much sometimes, and maybe this is a bit of a wake up for the people involved. But I'd be too polite to say it, and Victor wasn't. But sometimes it's got to be said. People have got to hear it. So credit to Victor. It was a fun show, and I thought it was a really great conversation. And again, it's one of those shows I'd recommend, even though it's really long, even just to skip through. It was a really great chat, so I'd recommend people go and check that out on Gimme a Flake Man's channel. The video from last night, YouTube drama, elitism in the J-Vlog community. It was awesome. I'll put a link for it after this. Kantensai konbanwa. Wow, I'm so behind. I'm going to catch up. Nunganin is asking, are there stereotypical foreign accents to Japanese people? When speaking Japanese, do French people have a French accent like they do in English, for example? Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, people have accents because that's how they speak. That is the filter through which they speak other languages. And there's, I guess, the typical gaijin accent that's made fun of on TV, of course, is the probably is first the American student, with the exaggerated diphthongy English, diphthongy being a single vowel that has like 5 vowels all kind of waving up and down. Watashi wa John des. And the thing is that my wife always makes fun of me that she can do a better Gaijin accent than I can. It's actually, this is one of my little secrets for Japanese. I think the New Zealand accent, kind of because it's kind of flat and short and mumbly, kind of lends itself to the Japanese accent kind of well. It's not that far apart as English goes. Spanish accents are fantastic for Japanese because they're pretty much the same. They have the same vowels, and Spanish has very much the same sound and rhythm to it. But definitely there's French. With Korean, there's a distinct Korean accent in Japanese. Koreans are pretty much invisible in Japan, and sometimes you don't pick it up unless they're wearing a name tag in a shop. But sometimes you can pick it up because they tend to pronounce soft letters like B or D or G a little bit too hard. In Korean, you exhale when you do those things, so it's not the same as saying P, but it's like they'll say B while exhaling, so it's like B, and it comes out sounding like P. And they always, so the Japanese sounds, it's perfectly intonated. Everything about Korean Japanese tends to be perfect, except that they're just a little bit too harsh. And there's an expression on the news when they say that, when they say that the person was probably foreign, but we don't want to say it was probably foreign, we say that the person had katakota Japanese, which is the person had kind of stiff and rigid Japanese, implying a non-natural kind of an accent, which is interesting. So definitely there are foreign accents. Nunganin. Hope that was helpful. And Yasashi 89. Well, whatever gets you going, mate. Whatever gets you going. Sean Stelly. I might be absent when this starts. However, how do I keep up with the channel? I mean, since I have a job and a regular life, it must be difficult. Actually, I touched on this a lot last night. Actually, you know what? It was off the air when I was talking to Rachel later. My former job and my former life before I had a kid, I had a lot of downtime at home and at work. There was a lot of downtime set up at work. I had to spend long hours in the office, but there was downtime there. Now I have no downtime. I spend less time in the office, but when I'm at home, all the time at home, at least until 9 p.m. is completely with my son. So it's a completely different life, especially when you have a kid. And it's true that, I am less prolific now. I used to really watch a lot of YouTube, and that's the time I've probably sacrificed first. I don't watch videos as much as I used to watch videos, and I feel bad about that. I'd like to get that time back, but the other thing was that I used to really spend a lot of time editing, and, it was kind of a point of pride that I would try to do something special. I tried to do something kind of new or learn a new editing technique of some sort every time I put up a video. However, that was because I had 3 or 4 hours every, Saturday night that I would spend, and whereas now this live time that I am on is literally it, and that's why these hangouts and these live events, they literally saved me. I mean, I don't know how I'd still be able to continue doing YouTube if I had to edit like I used to, and that's why I'm going to get a $5,000 beast of a mega computer, so that if I do edit videos, and I really do enjoy editing videos, and it's something I want to go back to doing more, but it really is meaningful to me to make sure that I can render that video in 30 minutes instead of 4 hours, because I can't spend that much time in my life sitting in front of the computer anymore. So I'm just going to get, and of course it's one of those things, you progress in life, you get, I can make enough that I can invest that much in a computer, and frankly it's worth that much to me to get a computer that can really do that. So the key is making it sustainable. I mean, I'd love to do 3 shows a week, and I'd still like to do 3 shows a week, but I'm not going to do it until I'm convinced I can sustain it under my current schedule and not be too tired. And I'm kind of not there at the moment, but it's on my plan for this year to see if I can get up a 3rd show only in Japanese on a different day of the week, and I'd like to get to that. But thank you for noticing and appreciating that. Yeah, it's tough, and I'm adapting to it, but so long as you guys are watching, I'm going to keep doing this, and this is fun for me. And I really love this live tool, and it's this is a new thing to explore. And again, when I think I get the beast, and you'll know when I've got the beast, because I'll be broadcasting in HD all the time, I'm going to really play around with really upping the production quality while it's live, on the fly, no post-editing, all in. I want to show video, I want to drop in video clips, I want to show websites. I'm going to do more stuff with that. and really use this time that I've got with you more efficiently. Although, frankly, if you're talking and it's a good conversation, that's all that you really need, isn't it? But there you go. So thanks for the question, Sean, and thank you for appreciating that. Frank Bombino notices that there is indeed a good sumo basho going on at the moment. Really good to see Kakuryu stepping up. Suna Ozunarashi, the Egyptian guy, is kicking ass. Endo's getting a lot of attention. The new great Japanese hope, and we'll see. It's nice to see not just Hakuho destroying everybody, although he is destroying everybody. But it looks like we're going to have a really interesting second half of this basho because there are a few wrestlers in good form. Nearly all of them foreigners, which the Japanese media unfortunately seems to not get into. But I agree. It's good basho so far, and it's another thing I don't watch as closely as I really used to. I used to be a huge avid sumo fan, but they broadcast it less and less. It's harder to keep up with. But agreed. Charlie Brown, weird Korean commercials. I will check that out later. I'm sure it's cool. If it's cool, I'll tweet it. But I'm sure the Koreans make good videos. So I guess we're still getting up to Michael Peckett's just opening his Chuhai, which must have been before this. But Yasa says that they'd tweet about the video, but I'm their only viewer. Well, I'm sorry, but that's cool. Narcissus says watching the soccer, and I think now we're getting to the start of the video. And okay, so let's go. Topics. Okay, we've got no Japanese, which I've talked about. The plagiarism and the stem cell research. Oh, that's a good topic. Or should that be sexism? Oh, that's okay. Going controversial. Saw the vid. Has to be said. A compliment from Victor is a bit like drinking absinthe. It always carries a kick. And indeed, Victor was saying, I got the guy 50 subs. I said, well, he lost his girlfriend, but who needs a girlfriend if you've got 50 subs, eh? Seriously. With the stem cell research thing, indeed, it's really disappointing that, what's her name, Obokata? Seems like a nice lady, obviously, and even, they seem to be admitting that they're a bit immature, perhaps, and they've made some real basic errors with the research. It's kind of embarrassing, and it's a bit of a shame. We'll see where it goes. Obviously the appropriate thing was to withdraw the thing, and it doesn't cast any shadow at all upon the Nobel winning IPS research of Yamanaka sensei. It did, I guess it is one of those things when it came out, it did seem a little bit too good to be true. And it seems, but we'll see. I mean, stem cell research is a fascinating area, and it's great now that it's advancing in ways that allow it to be done ethically, with less issues. And the opportunities for that. I mean, if there's anything that's going to allow us all to live to be like 200 years old, and maybe not me, but maybe my son, anything that could get me my hair back, all that important stuff. This is the way, and it's exciting to be in Japan and to see that Japan's leading that. The government recognizes the significance of this, as does the Nobel Committee. And, the important thing about science, frankly, as well, is to be constantly making mistakes. It's not about the successes. It's about making, and this is what Yamanaka-san, he did some great speeches. He's a really awkward guy, and he's not a great speaker. But obviously what he says when he was explaining about this, and he had a great message about Japanese culture and what he really wants to see happen in Japan, since he, got the platform of this. This is a guy who's, in his probably in his 40s, mid-40s maybe, early 40s perhaps. And he's pretty much been a failure his entire life. He's tried tens of thousands of different experiments, testing out different ideas, all of which proved to be failures. And this, he got this one right. And this one thing that he got right turned out to be the Nobel Prize. But, it's this thing about, he kind of says, Japan as a society needs to be more tolerant of allowing people to try and fail and make mistakes, supporting failures, knowing that, you need to try and fail at stuff to discover stuff and get something right. I mean, it's part of the scientific process. And, he wants Japan to celebrate people who screw up. And indeed, that's what appears to have happened in the stem cell controversy. So, in a way, I mean, it's a shame, but at the same time, if people are finding better and easier ways and simpler ways to create stem cells, it still is absolutely worth keeping the focus on that. And this shouldn't stop that momentum at all. Always good to improve techniques and so on. But indeed, that's been really interesting news this week. So that's a good topic, Michael Pickett. You're good with the topics. keep giving me more of those. And yes, Robert, 1967 Canada, I made sure that the comments were set up right. I talked Victor through that. Hopefully he's going to get that, because this is definitely a much better way, I think, on live videos to be able to see the video, to be able to see the comments. Well, I don't really care if I can see myself, frankly, but I think it's cool that you don't have to lose the video and that you can, it sounds like possibly Liverpool just scored again. Or something, maybe someone got sent off from the other team. My wife is very happy anyway. So yeah, this is the way it needs to be. Ecstatic Jack. Oh, wait a minute. So Charlie Brown, AU, maybe talk about odd Japan ads and Western folk. I don't know. The thing is, I don't watch much regular Japanese TV right now, and frankly, the odd Japanese ads I've been watching for 15 years, and I can't really tell what's odd anymore, which probably isn't a good thing, but there you go. Ecstatic Jack, where is flight MH370? Yeah, what the hell? It wasn't comfortable flying. It wasn't uncomfortable. I flew like 3 days after 9/11. And I was on a plane next to a tribal guy from Oman. I've talked about this before. I had a fascinating conversation with him flying to Thailand just after 9/11. And on this as well, people were talking on the flip, where did that plane go? And just as we're about to board our plane, I kind of mentioned, this probably isn't really an appropriate conversation, but what the hell? The update from the Malay Prime Minister the other day, Malaysian Prime Minister, and what it implies. The fact that they turned off all three of the location transmitters and communicators on the plane, and that they changed altitude and direction twice. The fact, setting aside maybe before you get into that part of it, the fact that this was all also tracked by military radar, and nothing was ever kind of picked up until long after it disappeared off radar. This implies that perhaps you have to rethink. Well, this incident's likely to probably cause rethinking fundamentally on everything about tracking airplanes, and this happens with ships a lot. This kind of hijacking and disappearing is something that, of course, regularly happens off the Somali Peninsula, and indeed in the Straits of Malacca. It used to happen off Aceh in northern Sumatra in Indonesia. That there's still pirates there, and they do this, and they make these ships disappear. And there's all sorts of measures that have been taken as a result, with all sorts of hidden tracking devices on these ships or whatever, so that the insurance companies can track them and the shipping companies don't lose them. And I don't know, maybe if there are 3 transmitters on this plane and there's no other way to find it, although there seems to be something about they were pinging satellites or something, but obviously there need to be like non-deactivatable GPS devices on these planes. It seems kind of like, I guess no one's ever really considered that there might be a risk of someone deliberately turning all of these things off, or having the ability to, I guess. And indeed, as a Prime Minister, and all the news is saying it, and they're thinking it has to be the flight crew, because there's a presumption that your regular hijackers could probably not do all of this stuff. And if they were hijackers, well, obviously they'd be very well trained in that specific airplane, and they knew the airplane that they're getting and everything. But again, it does seem to imply that it has to have been the flight crew. And I don't know the story with this. I know a lot of people in America are thinking, it's Malaysia, it's a Muslim country, so they must be Muslim radicals. But if you know anything about Malaysia, and indeed there is the precedent with Egypt, which is also, I don't know if it's officially, it was secular under, in fact, I think it is still secular, but majority Muslim country, where they had a pilot who, I know this is still controversial there, but there was a crash a few years ago where the investigation found that the pilot did crash the plane, the airliner, full of people deliberately. And there's an implication, perhaps this was the same thing, but certainly, I've lived in Singapore and around Malaysia, and I've got a lot of Malaysian friends, Muslim and non-Muslim, and, Malaysia is not a place I really have any association with, any form of for example, religious-based radicalism, or something that would explain that this would be naturally Al-Qaeda or some sort of terrorist thing in that respect. That doesn't really fit the picture. Of course, there is the other aspect to this. The plane had 150 passengers, 150 Chinese passengers. And again, given where they show where the plane is going now, the 2 arcs, one heading towards Antarctica below India, which doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, actually, if you're heading towards Diego Garcia and you want to break out all the Al-Qaeda prisoners there, it kind of makes sense only for that reason, no other reason, because there's nothing else there. Diego Garcia, by the way, a lot of people probably know this, it's an island halfway between the bottom of India and Antarctica where America has a major base. And that is, I think, where the SEAL team that got Bin Laden was based as well. And that's a little US air base in the middle of the South Indian Ocean. That's the only thing on the arc going south. And the northern arc is much more interesting because it goes over Tibet, Xinjiang, and Central Asia towards Kazakhstan. So if they were flying there deliberately, I don't know. I mean, these kind of terrorists from, if there's terrorism behind this, there's the Northwest Chinese terrorism problem going on lately, and some real incidents, including this crazy 29 people stabbed to death and 150 people injured, seriously by these 5 people with nothing but knives in a station in Kunming, which is in former Tibet, is now in one of the neighboring provinces to it. So I don't know in terms of what it could be. I mean, but this is the thing as well. If the plane kept flying for 7 hours, there's a hope for the families, I guess, that maybe it landed, maybe the people are still alive. But if they were alive, then why would there be all the silence? And I mean, and there is a form of terrorism in the silence and the not knowing, which is, and it would appear it would have to be targeted at the Chinese people who are the majority on the plane. But it doesn't seem like it could have been an accident. So what is going on? Did it crash? I mean, was it being hijacked? And was it like one of the Pennsylvanian 9/11 flights? And did it crash, or is it landed and the people were being held? I mean, this is the thing as well. Some people are talking about. I read this in somewhere. The plane went to 45,000 feet, which if the crew were in control of the plane and they would intentionally depressurize the cabin, that would cause everyone on the plane to lose consciousness. And then it went down and flew somewhere northwest, across the Indian Ocean again. So, really, I mean, it's the weirdest incident, involving an airplane I've ever seen, probably short of 9/11, and maybe that's what it's intended to be. In this day and age with satellites watching everything, and, if the NSA is reading our emails, you hope that they've got some sort of photographic record from all the spy satellites going around everywhere, that someone must have, some sort of ability to find this plane. I mean, that's what you'd hope. Yeah, I really hope we find out what it's about. I mean, if it is terrorism, it's pointless to not know what it was about. At least I think so. And if it wasn't, then what the hell was it? So I don't know. It's a really ecstatic Jack. It's a good question. I don't know what's going on with it, but I really hope that they find it soon. Really hope for the safety of the families and for all the people on board. Ahmed has a question next. Aren't I a little worried that the Japanese government might now let to... Am I worried about the 200,000 immigrants per year? I'm not worried about it. Well, no, I think it shows the right attitude. And you know what? For all of these people, again, it's all of this lazy journalism. I'm criticizing the journalism in the mass media. Once again, all of these lazy journalists who like to just point Japan as being under Abe as like this runaway right-wing kind of government or whatever. And they hate Anne Frank, and they're stirring up Nazist revival, which is all Chinese bullshit propaganda, because the Chinese are turning into this, and they're trying to call someone else what they are, and all this kind of BS about that Abe is trying to revoke the comfort women apology, which he was never going to do and never said that he would do, but the New York Times said that he would, and they haven't apologized for lying about that. And he clarified that just yesterday or day before yesterday. But he never said it. It's like apology. Honestly, it's like, imagine if a Japanese newspaper wrote an editorial that Obama's planning to eat babies. And then, Obama had to do a speech saying, just to be clear, I have no plans ever to eat babies, and I never did. And then Japan issues a statement saying, yeah, we're really glad that the president said that he's not going to eat babies after all, and we look forward to good relations. And that's exactly what's just happened with South Korea and the comfort women. Abe never said that they were going to revoke nobody ever said that they were going to revoke the apology. And, and then when they confirm that, then they get the statement from the Korean president. So anyway, with the immigration thing, this is just a sign again that, for whatever Abe thinks and whatever his dad did during the war and all this sort of stuff, he's about improving the economy first, in terms of what his program is for being prime minister. And in terms of sustaining, Japan as a society and as an economy, there's an acknowledgement now, even at the cabinet level, that they're about the need to increase immigration, and the fact that they're talking about this as a base number. And I think they should take their time with this discussion, because they need to think next about what's the best way. How should Japan take and integrate 200,000 people? And they've had some kind of ideas about how to do this in the past. They thought if we get racial people, well, first they thought if we get Koreans and people who are close to Japanese culture, that'll be easy. And that's kind of had some mixed results. I mean, I think pretty good results, but the society, maybe not the way that the society perhaps thought. And then they started allowing favoritism for like people of Japanese ancestry, which was particularly attractive to people in South America. And again, that's kind of had mixed results because, Brazilian people, there are a lot of Japanese Brazilians who look Japanese, but they are very culturally removed from being Japanese. And there's been a lot of problems, again, with the integration of those people. And again, there's just this belief that because they had Japanese DNA that they would just like somehow culturally fit in, and that's not how it works. And I think that was based on some real deep-seated ignorance, that whole introduction of that policy. And they've kind of gone back to the drawing board, and now that it's great that they're talking about 200,000 immigrants once again. And the key is now thinking through who are they going to be, and how are we going to, we're not just going to, have a lottery and allow 200,000 people in. It shouldn't be like that. It should be, how do we make sure that these people are brought into Japan and integrated into Japanese society in the best way? And that means two things. That means Japanese society accepting and integrating them, and those people being helped to fit into Japan. And, and there's a two-way street on that. I mean, Japan doesn't have to go crazy. Like, it's very different in Europe because, Europe kind of frankly, they have a moral obligation to allow all the countries that they abused. And, Ahmed, you're from one of the countries that was absolutely screwed in the most horrific ways by France. I mean, their track record in Algeria is one of the worst colonial records of any country. I mean, people demonized Japan and what they did in Korea. What happened, what the French got away with in Algeria for so long was, as bad or worse than anything Japan ever did. And, there's a moral obligation, I guess, to that they can't strip these people of the access and citizenship, especially when there's been so much integration over that time. But, Japan's kind of in a lucky position to some extent that going forward, it doesn't have that kind of baggage that it can decide on objectively the best way to put together an immigration policy, and that they do want to have a good immigration policy, but they want to do it right. And I think that's a good thing, and I really hope that they really think it through and they do it right. And, it's not always about, people say, oh, look, it's been terrible in Europe or terrible in America, immigration. But you look at Singapore and you look at other places, there are places in the world, Kuwait. There are places where immigration, mass immigration, like 50% of population immigration has actually gone quite well. Really, really closely managed. It wasn't just left to chaos. Oh, no, I've lost my camera. Come on, no. Oh, okay. See, this is why I'm going to get a new computer. I'm going to switch cameras. I'm going to number 2. Hang on a second. Come on, computer. So edit shot. Can the camera come back? I hope so. So let me add mic zoom, camera, laptop. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I'm just going to add. How do I add the laptop camera? Cam laptop, boom. There we go. Okay. Boom. See this live and on the fly. But this is why I'm going to spend crap loads of money on getting a new computer, because I'm tired of this crap. See, but I fixed it. So anyway, I think it's great that it says something about the mindset of the government that they're opening up to 200,000 immigrants per year, and I really hope that they look at models of countries where it's really worked, I think, well. I mean, there's always different opinions on it, but look at Singapore and look at those places and do it as a positive exercise. Don't just don't just open the gates and let anyone in, pick and choose, and take care and care about how they integrate, and think about what's necessary to change in Japanese society to make it successful, and kick ass. That's what I want them to do. And big credit to Abe for taking this on. I mean, the Democrats, who think of themselves as being very gaijin friendly, they didn't come up with this. I mean, granted, this probably didn't come up from the LDP. This probably came up from the Ministry of Justice, which controls immigration, but good on them for that. And I think my opinion is it's great, but I just hope that they do it right. People talking about the drama video from last night. Hey, Chris Yeriatsian, good to see you, man. Lysander 45. There was the car ad that featured the ghost on the mountain road. That's talking to probably Charlie Brown AU. And now I've just come to the video live, and it's smooth start and no HP please. And I'm going down. Devil worshippers talking about Max. Sorry to talk about Max. People got very aggravated by that. And now I have to refresh the comments because they stopped a long time ago. So now I am looking, there are 65 people watching, and boom, boom, boom. I'm going to go through and try to rock through these comments now. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so you know what? These are cut off, but I'm just going to pick it up from where I first see it. So Peter Subarashi is saying that a Japanese person asked this question to you the other day. He said, to me, all foreigners sound the same speaking Japanese. I don't know, maybe they're thinking of the same type of Japanese person, however. And that's right. I think the Australians don't really have a monotone accent. Australians are capable of it. New Zealanders kind of have it more naturally than Australians, I think. But yeah, I think you're right. The more you kind of just flatten and neutralize what you're saying, the easier the local accent becomes. And I think this is true of any language, because I used to speak Spanish as well. And this is why when I go back to New Zealand now, or I go to Australia, everyone thinks, because I've got a flattened out New Zealand accent, everyone thinks now that I'm South African, which is kind of funny. Kantensai, jibun wa kubi ga kotteru. Oh, I'm sorry about that. And yeah, so talking about different the different accents and so on. So I'm catching up on this. Joseph Mulan once reading that British English speakers find Japanese easier to pronounce than American English speakers, and I get that. I think English, again, depending on the accent that you're coming from, but I think most English is quite, the vowels are quite clipped, which suits well for Japanese, whereas Americans tend to really draw out and exaggerate their vowels, which makes it very easy to listen to, but makes it very hard for them to probably adapt to an accent like the Japanese accent. The Taste 1962. How do you make fat stacks in Japan? Well, apparently if you're running pachinko or you're importing stuff that Heisenberg would make, is it Heisenberg? Yeah, would make, they make fat stacks, to quote that great TV series. But I know there's one thing, there's actually, I saw a fascinating thing on The Economist the other day that I tweeted somewhere that, it wasn't The Economist, it was in Japanese, but it was talking about how average CEO salaries, so you think if you get to be CEO, you can be rich. In Japan, it's not true. CEOs in Japan, although average wages through the whole economy and the whole, size of the economy, everything going up to CEO, Japan does better. But CEO salaries are actually less in Japan than they are for Thailand. I think for all these Southeast Asian countries, like Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, CEOs in those countries make more wages than Japanese CEOs. So the only way to, if you really want to know how to make fat stacks, if you really want to know how to get rich in Japanese, it is you own a non-publicly listed chūshō kigyo, a small or medium-sized enterprise. All of those guys, the supermarket owners, the shop owners, who, whenever you're in a big public company that you have to have all the salaries audited by an HR function, is a real major thing with the Olympus scandal that the CEO of that company received a salary of $1 million. You think about how much CEOs make in big listed American companies. They make ridiculous salaries, and they almost feel like they argue that they're entitled to it. But in big companies like that, that was actually for all the bad things, all the embezzlement and all the lying and all the things that they did in that company. In the press and within the company, they were more assassinated over the fact that they received such a huge salary. And yet, I know this from various sources that, when you see those Ferraris and those Benzes and things going around, those are the owners of companies that are not so big, that aren't subject to that sort of scrutiny, and that is the way to get rich in Japan. So there you go and do it. Danny Chu, he's got the right idea. They're cheap, they run in grass. I'm sure they do. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry, I've skipped the comments too much probably. Why the lights are called blue here? Stubuya asking about the research into why they call the traffic lights blue here instead of green. And I've given my theory on this before, but I believe Japanese, like Polynesians and like people from this side of the Pacific, share in common the highest rates of color blindness in the world. And I sincerely believe that it's probably I believe that it's a linguistic link to the very high rate of blue-green color blindness in Japanese society. That's my random and probably extremely wildly inaccurate theory, but there it is. That's my theory. But there's no other good reason. Although, bear in mind that even in English, when you talk about the bluegrass state or the Blue Mountains in Australia or the bluegrass state in America, you talk about the bluegrass, it refers to really, really dark green, right? Really, really dark green grass. Even in English, we call blue. The Blue Mountains are dark green, but they call them blue because they look so green. So there is this concept as well in Japanese. If you see like a really forest, and you think about a pine forest and that kind of dark green, they call that blue, overflowing with blue rather than green. But, there's there is an English equivalent to it, but with the traffic lights, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense. Narcissus, talking about accents. Okay, so I'm going to skip down and try to catch up. 2 Dimensions HR, pronouncing words. It's a really interesting one, actually, the accents thing. Flipboard is awesome. How the hell do you use it, though? So Dean Bennett's asking, try putting one together, none too successfully. It takes a little bit of figuring out. And, I never really got into it until... What I love about it the most, I like to use it as a reader substitute. So I've picked a few accounts. You feel free to do this with mine. I put them into a Twitter list of what I call readables, and I featured this on a video the other day. You can actually just go to my Twitter and you can see my list of readables. It's got 12 people in it who post consistently interesting articles, and you can actually set up something to read, like a content source on Flipboard by hooking up just a list of people that you follow, and it will put all of the links that they post as articles. So it's like reading a magazine that those people update, and that is a really awesome way to use Flipboard, and that is what I recommend. And as you read lots of stuff and you like to curate yourself, then you just have the little plus button down the bottom and you can create magazines off that. Lots of information on the web, but I love Flipboard. It's a great tool, and I recommend it. The Obokata thing, so Michael Peckett, who probably knows much more about this than me, coming back to that topic, she does not seem to be intentionally misleading, which could be the case, and it wasn't just her, it was a whole bunch of people. The thing about the photos and so on, and that make that look like they've been reused or doctored, is the most is the worst looking thing, although there's a lot of other aspects to it. And obviously it was the right thing to take it down, and if it still stands up to validity, in the end of the day, it comes down to peer review, right? If there are third parties who are able to replicate the results, which they've been having trouble with the STAP research, but if someone else can do it, then we find out, was it just a sloppy thesis, or was there something more wrong with it, and we'll find that out. But there have been problems, from what I understand, from people recreating the results, and that's kind of what it comes down to. Also, it's like super random and hard to reproduce. But yeah, no, it's an interesting problem. Narcissus is saying that people prefer British rather than Americans because the culture, because as you say, the culture is a bit more aligned, and I find that as a New Zealander as well. We tend to be a bit more like, well, again, Britain has a lot of different cultures, but yes, I think I know what you're talking about. So Peckett's suggesting that perhaps that women, that she's getting a harder time because she's a woman, and that could be a part of it. Well, I guess we'll find out. Saluki-san has a Korean friend that couldn't hear Arnold Schwarzenegger's accent. Arnold Schwarzenegger has an accent? I love the... and it didn't help him either in the election, which Schwarzenegger won when he became California governor, and the guy against him, what was his name? It was like really bland name, like such and such Gray or Brown or something. And he said, if you're going to run for California governor, you should at least be able to pronounce California. And lots of people criticized him for like being racist or something because of it. But I thought it was kind of funny. Kantenza is pointing out that スタップ細胞の話は残念でした。中立的な立場で本人から直接の情報が聞きたいところですね。まさにその通り。もう第三者の確認とか、本人のところも聞きたいし、ただ単になんか、if it was just sloppy, then that's fine. But I'd like to understand from someone independent, exactly what was wrong, and if it can be fixed, I hope it's fixed. And okay, we're now up on the hour, so I'm gonna zip through the rest of the stuff and see what else we've got. We've got the color talk, and it's kind of good to get through that. 2 Liverpool penalties, damn it. Narcissus, are you a Man U fan? I guess we'll find out about that. Jason, my Argonaut, good to see you. Always good to see you. Good to see that you are Genki desu and that you are following these things. Again, more talking about the MH370, these are the comments from when I was talking about this. And indeed, looks like it was flown by a proper pilot, which is kind of maybe the scary thing about that. Just Michael asking if I play PC games. Don't know if it's a good question, but just curious. I don't play PC games. I must admit, for all of my gaming life, this is it now. And it's just because I don't, for the same what I was talking about earlier about the YouTube thing, I just don't have the free time to sit in front of a PC anymore. This is where I spend all my free time now. I do play. I play Words with Friends. If any of you want to play Words with Friends with me, I play with anybody. So feel free to invite me to that. I was playing Real Racing, and I had some guys messaging me, when am I going to get back to racing? Which I go on little. I guess I have little binges on different types of games, but I reasonably consistently play Words with Friends. I've been a bit quiet lately, but. Yes, in terms of real PC games, I'd probably like to get into that, but I just don't have the time. I'll look forward to seeing what it's all like when my son is into it. Probably about 10 years from now, so we'll see. And aliens, that's right. The Malaysian plane could be, indeed, that could be it. Tinfoil hats on. And indeed, people talking about Stabuya heard that Obama smoked a baby in college, a whole baby. Who knows? So yes, I'm sorry, I missed all these comments. I wish I could keep up with these. Hiko is the Riddler. That's right, it was me. It was me. But the Riddler, that's right. So this is where my computer went down, and then it came back again, and it's Moby, and at least people can hear me. And again, I have to refresh again. YouTube, get the comments right. So now I'm going to wrap this up. Okay, it's Moby. That's right, it's Moby. So now I'm going to wrap it up. We are on the hour, so I'm going to wrap up the comments super fast now. Crime is going to go way up with immigration. Well, we'll see. It doesn't need to. It didn't happen in Singapore. Well, they had their first riot in 50 years the other day, and they were foreigners, but all 50 of them were rounded up and deported right away. I think Singapore is actually a really interesting base model. You know what? I don't know that Australia and America and Europe are great examples for immigration policy. Singapore, sure, it's a little bit of a Disneyland version of a fascist dictatorship, but it's, they seem to do a lot of things right if you're going to do these things. And I don't know, I'd be interested if they take the Singapore approach, including, in Singapore, even if you're not a citizen, if you're just a permanent resident, you have to do a compulsory military service. You can be conscripted even as a foreign permanent resident, which is kind of interesting. And who knows, if I'm about to become a permanent resident in Japan, maybe that's what's going to happen. But I think they should really study places like Singapore for that and find out how to do it. The $5,000 is going to be 1 computer and 20 cameras and mics. That's probably, yes, indeed. Well, I don't want this to happen again. This is why I'm going to spend $5,000. This is never going to happen again. I'm going to set up a proper goddamn studio, if you ask me. At least make all of this stuff work to its full potential, which, it needs to do. And indeed talking about the immigration stuff, which we went through a little bit, but so I'm trying to figure out what is Stubia talking about. So we're going to open the flag race immigration, the Australians, my Japanese husband spoke English with English accent, make a shitty beautiful product, make the flavor of the month to yell sugoi, profit. Oh, this is how to make stacks. Okay. I got it. How to? Yeah, exactly. You got it, Stubuya. See, I can catch up with these things even when they're from a few minutes ago. Stubuya, the haze due to the eucalyptus soil. Is that it? Actually, I thought it was like the eucalyptus trees themselves start to look blue after a while. It's kind of a dark red, green. That's implying a different type of color blindness, isn't it? That's not good. Well, anyway, the Blue Mountains is too cold. That's why it's called blue, because it's cold. Stars and Sea. Oh, Stars and Seas are here. Awesome. Good to see you, Stars and Sea. Big fan. She's got an awesome channel. I used to really follow, and I am terrible at following everyone now. But, well, there we go. The history of orange-red. That used to be the same thing. It's the same for blue-green, perhaps. And perhaps it is. Perhaps blue is not an easily accessible color. If you forget for a moment that people could look up and see the sky. Well, maybe it's hard. Well, it probably was hard to reproduce artificially. Indeed, Rhoda Ichihong is studying American English, which is American English is the standard basis for learning. You should learn American English because that's where all the mullahs, and frankly, that's even what New Zealand is. Peter Jackson probably speaks with an American accent by now. Jerry Brown, that's right. He put California in a very good place. Oh dear, the Seven Hills, that's right, California. Philomena, good to see you, by the way, and I loved your troll of Victor yesterday. That was kind of fun. Yes, indeed, Narcissus is a Manchester fan. My wife is laughing her head off, so you guys must be doing terrible at the moment. Ahmed asking, how difficult is it to translate your name into Japanese characters? She's laughing her head off. What the hell is going on in there? It depends on your name and how compatible it is with Japanese sounds. Hikosaemon is very easy, of course. It's a Japanese name, but so that doesn't make it hard. But yes, you can. It's pretty. If you can make if you can convert your name into Japanese sounds, then it's pretty easy to make any characters for it. Although how natural depends on what the sounds are, but it's pretty easy to do. Do I watch Rick and Morty? I don't know who they are, but this is how out of touch I am with TV and all that good stuff. And it looks like I've caught up. Richard, aka Silva, I totally skipped your question. When I refresh, I miss a lot of stuff, and maybe I skipped your question because I'm just rushing to catch up at the moment. I'm sorry about that. And I'm sorry. This is just me rushing to catch up. And you know what? I've lost you again. Richard A.K. Silva. Wait a minute, and you're crying. I can't let Richard A.K. Silva cry. So I'm going to try to find your question, and answer it. But view all comments. I could just view all comments, and they would all just show the newest ones first. Any tips for someone starting to learn Japanese? Is that your question? My tips are. Get a good basis. I would start, and honestly, best thing is to find Japanese friends and get a Japanese teacher. Start by studying, get a basics of the grammar and whatnot. You can do that by yourself, but it is easy to try to find a class to get that down. Once you've got the basics down, I would look for exposure and immersion, any way you can get it, and you can do that via. Sorry, I'm watching all the comments update now, and it's kind of funny watching all the comments. They happen every second now. You can find TV shows and Japanese videos on the internet, and you can find regular TV shows to watch. You can find people, language exchanges via Skype and all sorts of internet tools and hangouts and stuff like that. Travel to Japan, that's the best way. Look for a class first. Look for online classes if there aren't any around where you are. Try studying by yourself if you're really that motivated. But I don't know, it's very different now because, when I learned Japanese, they didn't have the internet, and we had to really figure it out. And I was lucky that we did have school, classes in school. But Google it if you really just have a passion for it, and search for it, and just latch on to anything you can. Best thing is people, making Japanese friends. But I would say even before that, you probably want to. There again, I know a lot of people who just came to Japan and just stayed here with no studied Japanese and picked it up by ear. And, they turned out awesome in the end. So getting here is the best way. Richard A.K. Silva. And I'm sorry, I totally skipped your question and I made you cry. I'm a mean person. What can I say? It's 10 minutes past the hour and I'm tired. But this is kind of cool. I think it's been fun. And this is for being completely unprepared. I've still just been rushing the whole way through. Stubia, educational materials distinguishing green and blue only came into use after World War II. Well, maybe that's it. Who knows? This is fun. We got a lot of comments tonight. I think this is a rockin' hangout. I hope you like my dancing. Happy birthday, Razel Gul. Good to see you. Good to see all the regulars and the non-regulars. It's great to have you all there and to have everyone interacting as usual. I can never quite do it enough. And again, I'm flashing back now, but Australians are actually asking for approval after every statement. I'm going to come back and probably catch all the comments I missed later, and they are funny, and I love the way that you guys write these. Yeah, it's been a crazy week for me. Follow my Twitter and my Flipboard and all that good stuff for the updates and all that sort of stuff. But otherwise, I am going to get off. It's been great, as always, hanging out with you guys. And come to the YouTube Hanami. I'll repeat it again. The Facebook invite page is below. Please RSVP because that helps us to plan. It's worth traveling for. It's worth getting on anything other than a Malaysian Airlines plane and coming to Japan to join. Or to travel within Japan. It is the best YouTube event in the world. I'm going to say it. I'm sure the Americans don't have anything on a J-Vlog party, and this is like the most traditional, most awesome, whatever gatherings they have anywhere else in the world, in terms of turnout, in terms of sake and cherry blossoms and awesome environment and awesome people. It cannot be beat. Come April 5th to the YouTube Hanami in Yogi Koen. Same place we have it every year, the same spot that we have it every year. RSVP on the page and see you there, where you can just come and hang out with me face to face. Yes, big boy, you missed dancing, and well, you'll be able to see it soon anyway, but don't, because I'm shy. That's why I'm on the internet, like putting 1 million selfies an hour in a single video. Catch you Wednesday night on 2.5 for Oyajis. We are going to get, by the way, I had a fantastic time with Rachel June last night. Awesome channel. If you don't know them already, go and check them out. I should put a link below. We're going to get them on soon. Jake Adelstein is going to come on soon, probably sometime. We are still in touch. And it's all good. So I'm going to see you all later. And you guys all have a good week. And I'll see you next week. And yeah, awesome. Okay. And just keep chatting in the comments and doing all that good stuff. Talk to you later. Peace. I do the peace thing, but then I actually have to manually stop it. But there we go. I'll stop it now.